Imagine an entire continent's history erased from the pages of books and the walls of museums. For centuries, Africa's past was told through the eyes of outsiders, until a quiet revolution began in 1966. This is the story of how African scholars fought to illustrate their own history against impossible odds. In a small office at UNESCO headquarters, a Senegalese historian named Cheikh Anta Diop opened a file that would change everything. Inside were drawings of ancient African civilizations that predated European contact by thousands of years. These weren't just sketches, they were evidence. Evidence that would form the backbone of an 8-volume masterpiece called The General History of Africa. For 30 years, teams of researchers scoured caves, tombs, and forgotten manuscripts to reconstruct what colonial powers had tried to erase. They found rock paintings in the Sahara showing chariots crossing the desert when Europe was still in the Bronze Age. They uncovered temple carvings in Ethiopia depicting advanced mathematics while much of the world still counted on fingers. But the most shocking discovery came from South Africa, where a secret visual archive had survived apartheid. The Reader's Digest illustrated history of South Africa contained photographs and drawings that contradicted every colonial textbook. One image showed Johannesburg in 1886, not as a European creation, but as a thriving African settlement with stone buildings and irrigation systems. Another revealed gold mining operations run by African engineers centuries before European arrival. These weren't just pictures, they were land claims, proof of ownership, and most dangerously, proof of civilization. Cheikh Anta Diop knew exactly what he was holding. As a young student in Paris, he'd been told Africa had no history worth documenting. Now he held visual proof that the first universities, the first surgical tools, even the first astronomical charts came from African soil. The UNESCO team worked like detectives, comparing ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs with West African scripts, matching pottery designs across thousands of miles, even analyzing the pigments in cave paintings to date them accurately. What emerged was a pop-up book of African achievement that could no longer be ignored. When Volume 1 finally published in 1970, it contained something revolutionary: maps drawn from African perspectives, timelines based on African oral histories, and most importantly, illustrations created by African artists. For the first time, schoolchildren in Lagos and Nairobi could see their ancestors not as primitive tribesmen, but as architects, astronomers, and philosophers. The impact was immediate and dangerous. Apartheid South Africa banned the books. European museums quietly removed misleading displays. But the genie was out of the bottle. Africa had illustrated its own past, and the world would never look at history the same way again. Today, these fragile pages hold an urgent lesson. In a digital age where images can be altered with a click, these hand-drawn illustrations remain unshakable evidence of what was, and what might have been. They ask us one piercing question: whose history have we not yet seen?